I'm thrilled at how the Godzilla franchise is coming alive with some amazing movies of late. And after the Oscar-winning Godzilla Minus One, we now have the glimpses of the sequel, Godzilla Minus Zero. Here, we'll see the story of the survivors from the first film, and the Shikishima family will have to deal with a new threat. As Godzilla marks a return, the ravaged post-World War II Tokyo has further troubles in store, and the new teaser might be a short one, but it's still quite insightful. I've spotted some crucial details on Takashi Yamazaki's upcoming film, and even the 30-second clip makes it clear that some extreme measures are being planned to deal with the mighty Godzilla. In this video, I'll bring you the hidden details and Easter eggs that you might have missed, so that you know what to expect when the movie hits theaters in what seems to be yet another monster classic.
The
official synopsis gives you some context. I think it'd be best if I start you off with the official synopsis because it'll give you some much needed context to better understand the brief teaser video. As per the official synopsis of the movie, war reduced Japan to zero, and Godzilla plunged it into minus. 2 years have passed since then, and the country has faced agonizing struggles to achieve victory and finally reclaim its daily life. Just as humanity managed to cling on to a hard-won peace, a new threat strikes, crushing hope in an instant. There is no third time. Everything ends here. I know what you're thinking. It all sounds so grim and apocalyptic, but I guess that's exactly what the director wants you to feel here. The crisis has only worsened, and so have the measures taken to counter the situation, and there is no winning this war. This time around, it's also a battle of conscience. What I love the most about this new brand of Godzilla is that it's no longer just about fighting the monster. In Godzilla Minus One, we've seen humanity survive one of the greatest monster onslaughts, but the threat was far from over. Now, the sequel will see the crisis widening further, and the iconic kaiju is back to torment mankind one more time. From the looks of it in the teaser, Godzilla also seems bigger and deadlier than before. But the battle against the monster is not the only conflict here. Even the quick teaser footage is enough to confirm that the ones supposed to work together against the monster also have their differences. There are scenes of this internal conflict in the teaser footage, and the line, "another moral boundary mankind shouldn't cross," is truly haunting. They're caught up in a dilemma over what is ethical and what is outright wrong as they face absolute destruction, and it seems to be that the steps taken will have consequences to make sure that there is total victory to be won here. Godzilla Minus Zero is set in the year 1949. I did mention that Godzilla Minus Zero is a continuation of the earlier story, and it picks up precisely 2 years after the events of the previous film. It continues the story of the Shikishima family as they deal with the all-new threat, and while the teaser gives away precious little, the fan theories have been running wild ever since the first teaser dropped. What's the deal with the blue field around Godzilla? One of the things that struck me the most about the teaser footage is the glowing blue light around Godzilla in one of the scenes. There's an interesting theory around this that suggests that the blue field might just be connected to Godzilla's regeneration, or maybe even a new nuclear pulse attack. I think this makes sense as well because it would be perfectly in line with what Godzilla Minus One already established. We've seen the extent of Godzilla's regenerative abilities, and the final scene showed his remaining flesh regenerating underwater. Maybe the new version has some modifications or adaptations that weren't previously seen. Also, there's an apparent anti-gravity effect here, and this could be a side effect of Godzilla compressing his atomic energy. Now, he might not be firing his heat ray in one direction, and he could release radiation across the entire surrounding area. Wouldn't it be really cool if we see a fully charged Godzilla exploding energy outward like a nuclear pulse? I know this is only speculative at this point, but this would explain why the teaser shows blue energy without even revealing another monster. Is the smoky poster a Hedorah teaser? You simply cannot ignore the ominous ambiance of the promotional artwork, and it's been suggested by multiple theorists that one of the posters is a potential clue towards the presence of Hedorah, also known as the Smog Monster. This doesn't come from one particular silhouette, but the overall appearance of the artwork, and we have seen smoky, murky clouds and damaged urban environments. Wow, there's also the possibility of a contamination. What if this is a hint to a monster whose identity revolves around pollution? You see how Hedorah suddenly becomes plausible. Well, if this is indeed true, it could be a terrifying prospect for the already struggling people in the post-war reconstruction. While Godzilla would represent the immediate consequence of nuclear violence, Hedorah would indicate all that is left behind, such as poisoned water and contaminated soil. What's more, Hedorah's presence would also explain all the strange airborne debris that we've seen in the trailer. What if Godzilla's fragments regenerated into two Godzillas? I know I'm stretching things a bit here, but give it some thought just a second. If you go strictly by the promotional artwork, you'll see a cloudy silhouette that almost seems like a different incarnation of the monster. Now, there's always going to be the possibility that when Godzilla's body is disintegrated, many of the surviving pieces begin regenerating independently, and this produced two genetically related creatures. I cannot throw this possibility out the window because the ending of Godzilla Minus One does leave this can of worms open. Also, there's no denying the fact that it would seriously aggravate the crisis, which is already indicated in the official synopsis and the latest teaser footage. What's more, we even have an old franchise parallel to this, when after the death of Godzilla in the 1954 film, a second Godzilla was introduced in Godzilla Raids Again, instead of resurrecting the dead one. I am intrigued by the possibility of two Godzillas, because it would mean absolute chaos and a level of threat that is unprecedented. What really causes the New York attack? I know the latest teaser steals the show, but let's not forget about the earlier teaser, where we have seen the whole Statue of Liberty imagery. Now, unless it's a dream sequence, which is unlikely, I wonder what prompted Godzilla to cross the Pacific and attack New York. Well, there happens to be a fan theory that makes perfect sense, and that is that the United States brings him there. Now, this could be intentional or through another nuclear detonation. There's a chance that the American forces discovered the regenerating remains of Godzilla, and they try to destroy it with a thermonuclear weapon. Of course, there's always the possibility of a military transport of Godzilla gone wrong, or maybe even the aftermath of a nuclear testing. You have to agree that the title of the movie, Godzilla Minus Zero, sounds very similar to T-Zero, which is the instant at which a weapon is detonated. Imagine the shock for humanity when they find out that a larger weapon supposed to destroy Godzilla actually makes him stronger and acts as his fuel. Min Tanaka is a great addition to the cast. I noticed this exciting new addition to the cast, and for those who are familiar with the works of Min Tanaka in Perfect Days and 47 Ronin, will know that he's a very capable actor. He plays the role of Kanji Murakami in Godzilla Minus Zero, and this character is that of a biologist who carries deep psychological scars from the war. He has a major role to play in investigating the threat posed by Godzilla, and we have to count him as one of the survivors of the devastating Godzilla Minus One battle. Given how Min Tanaka is such a celebrated Japanese actor, I'm quite certain that he'll have a key role to play in the movie as he finds ways to deal with the all-new calamity this time around. Can Kenji Murakami be a parallel to Dr. Daisuke Shirazawa? This is a theory that'll make sense to the Godzilla purists and the diehard fans. For some context, the original 1954 Godzilla movie featured Dr. Daisuke Shirazawa as a haunted scientist. The description that we've received so far about Kenji Murakami points to the possibility that the role played by Min Tanaka might be a nod to this original character. There's a scene in the teaser where you can see a dramatic shot of light reflecting across Murakami's glasses. This has been interpreted by some as imagery for a man who's hiding some dangerous information, or maybe even planning something that is morally questionable. In the original movie, Dr. Shirazawa developed the Oxygen Destroyer, which was a weapon that was capable of killing Godzilla by destroying oxygen and dissolving living tissue. But he sacrificed himself while using the weapon so that nobody could ever force him to replicate this deadly weapon. As a biologist, Murakami might come up with something equally deadly, and this might bring about a similar moral dilemma and consequence. It does fit with everything that we know about the story so far, doesn't it? Godzilla Minus Zero might be thematically similar to Godzilla Raids Again. I know what you're thinking. This would mean that Godzilla Minus One is a literal remake of the original 1954 movie, and it isn't. But you can't deny the thematic similarities, right? The movie did return the creature to post-war Japan and restored his identity as a terrifying national threat. It ended with the apparent destruction of the monster, and now the sequel might just go ahead with a similar update of the original sequel, which was titled Godzilla Raids Again. Godzilla Raids Again introduced a second Godzilla and added Anguirus, both of which are exciting prospects for the new movie. Several returning members of the cast can be seen. I just spoke about the new addition to the cast in the form of Min Tanaka, but I'm also excited to see all the returning cast members from Godzilla Minus One. We have Ryunosuke Kamiki making a comeback as Koichi Shikishima, who was the protagonist in Godzilla Minus One. Then we have Minami Hamabe, who plays the role of Noriko Shikishima, the kamikaze pilot who got his redemption. And Hidetaka Yoshioka is back as Kenji Nore, the fellow fighter of Koichi in the earlier movie. Kenji is now the director of Tokyo's Disaster Response Bureau, which makes things all the more interesting. Lastly, you have a few more returning actors, like Yuki Yamada, Sakura Ando, and Mio Tanaka. Are we seeing a chunk of Godzilla's dorsal plate in the teaser? I have to admit that it's a really interesting shot in the teaser, where we see a tiny object kept inside a round container. It seems like a piece of Godzilla's dorsal plate, or maybe a tiny fragment of his massive body in general. Maybe someone found this and preserved this following the destruction of Godzilla in the previous movie. From the way it's been kept with a tag, it's safe to conclude that the humans have experimented on this, maybe to find new ways to kill the monster if it ever resurfaces. What's the spot on the map in the teaser? You can clearly see that someone is pointing to this spot on the map and it's circled in red. Now, I have no clear visuals to specify on the location, but surely something big is about to happen in this designated spot. It might be the site for a weapon experiment that'll later be used against Godzilla, or it could be a place where the monster attacks. There are enough examples to suggest that humanity is handling things more powerful than they can comprehend, and I wouldn't be surprised if the location circled in the map turns out to be a pivotal place where a majority of the action takes place. The bomb being dropped might be significant. For me, this is one of the defining moments of the entire teaser footage. A bomb can be seen as it's dropped from an aircraft. This can be connected with an earlier German machine that is seen briefly in the teaser, and maybe this is not a simple bomb that's being used, but a new high-tech weapon. If you zoom in on the bomb, you'll see a large picture of what appears to be a frequency wave, and I have a feeling that it's somewhat related with the earlier device. And this is the new weapon that'll be tried against Godzilla. The budget is way higher this time. It amazed the audience how a low-budget effort like Godzilla Minus One could yield such exciting results. But after the resounding success of the movie, it's only fair that the budget would be significantly higher this time around. It's also evident from the teaser footage where you see some high-end shots of Godzilla and the effects are spot on, especially the blue glow on Godzilla. He seems to have a major upgrade and it really stands out. Clearly they've invested heavily in the CGI team, and it's totally worth it, given how the movie's not trying to exploit the effects and action sequences alone to be successful. Takashi Yamakazi is here to stay, and the movie will be released this year. How often have we been dangled the carrot of a quick teaser, only for the movie to be vanished in developmental hell? Well, that's not going to happen with Godzilla Minus Zero, and that's such a relief. Firstly, I was delighted to know that the Oscar-winning filmmaker Takashi Yamakazi is going nowhere, and he is the one in charge of the movie. He's the director, screenwriter, and visual effects lead, which means that we can expect the same level of artistry and devastation in the new film. Secondly, it's quite comforting to find out that the movie will be released this year itself. The release date has been announced as the 3rd of November in Japan and the 6th of November in North America, and I know I'm blocking my calendar already for a magical theatrical experience. This has been filmed as the first ever Japanese production to be filmed for IMAX, and I cannot wait to see the results on the big screen. I understand the hype around this movie because of how Godzilla Minus One set the bar so high. Suddenly, the franchise has gone from being a random monster feature to a deeper story with heart and emotions. Godzilla Minus One was probably one of the best creature features that I've ever watched, and it's fair to be excited about the upcoming sequel, which seeks to continue the story further. If the film retains the core values that made Minus One so special, I see no reason why it can't match the legacy of the former, and I'm confident that we're in for yet another monster classic to remember, and a movie that will sweep the awards. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this upcoming film and tell me your views on the quick teaser footage. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell, so that when Godzilla rises from the sea, you find out from us first. Be safe, have a great day, and as always, stay marvelous.